There is a silent, invisible war being fought every second of every day across the digital infrastructure of our planet. It is not fought with guns or treaties, but with keystroke. On one side, you have the tourist developers who spend their careers comfortable inside the padded walls of integrated development environments, addicted to the colorful buttons, the drag-and-drop interfaces, and the safety nets that modern software giants have built to keep them docile. They are consumers of technology, even if they think they are creators. On the other side, you have the operators, the architects, the ones who stare into the abyss of a blank terminal window and do not blink. They know that the true power of computing does not live in a graphical interface. It lives in the shell. The black screen with the blinking white cursor is the great filter. It separates those who write code from those who truly understand the machine. When the server farms in Virginia go dark, or when a financial algorithm starts bleeding millions of dollars a second due to a memory leak, the mouse becomes useless. The GUI freezes. The colorful buttons turn gray. In that moment of panic, when the alarms are ringing and the CTO is breathing down your neck, the only thing that stands between total system collapse and salvation is your mastery of the command line. You cannot buy this competence. You have to forge it in the fire of critical incidents. It begins with vision. When you log into a remote server that is currently choking on its own traffic, you are effectively blind. You are dropped into a dark room with no windows. The amateur panics, clicking frantically on dashboards that aren't loading. The professional types top or 8. Immediately, the darkness lifts. You aren't just looking at a list of numbers. You are looking at the vital signs of a dying patient. You see the CPU screaming at 100% usage. The load average climbing like a fever. The memory swapping to disk in a desperate attempt to stay alive. This command is your stethoscope. It tells you exactly who the villain is. Is it a runaway Python script? Is it a database query from hell? Without this situational awareness, you are just guessing. And in this game, guessing is negligence. Once you identify the threat, you must neutralize it. In the corporate world, removing a problem is a complex dance of HR and bureaucracy. In the terminal, it is instant execution. The kill command is the ultimate expression of authority. It is binary. You identify the process ID, the specific heartbeat of the rogue program, and you sever it. Sometimes, the process fights back. It refuses to close. It hangs. It resists. That is when you escalate to kill -9. This is not a request. It is an order. It is a sniper shot that wipes the process from existence without saving state, without cleanup, without mercy. It is a dangerous power, one that can corrupt data if used recklessly. But when the ship is sinking, you do not ask the water politely to leave. You force it out. But usually, the problem isn't a loud explosion. It's a silent cancer hidden in terabytes of data. Logs. The exhaust fumes of the digital engine. An average application generates millions of lines of logs a day. Finding the specific error that caused a transaction to fail is like trying to find a specific grain of sand on a beach. If you try to open a 50-gigabyte log file in a standard text editor, your local machine will crash. You are trying to drink the ocean. The master uses grip. This tool is a high-powered laser. It ignores the noise and illuminates only the signal. You can filter through millions of lines in milliseconds, extracting only the moments where the word exception or error appears. It allows you to travel back in time, reconstructing the crime scene of a crash with surgical precision. This ability to manipulate data brings us to the philosophy of the pipeline. The pipe character, the vertical bar, is perhaps the most profound invention in the history of software engineering. It allows you to chain these commands together, creating complex data processing factories on the fly. You take the output of one command and force it into the input of another. You grab the logs, pipe them into grep to find the errors, pipe that into awk to extract just the IP addresses, pipe that into sort, and you nick to count them. In one line of code, written in 10 seconds. You have performed an analysis that would take a junior developer for hours and a spreadsheet to figure out. This is alchemy. You are transmuting raw data into intelligence. However, you are rarely doing this on the machine sitting on your desk. The modern world is distributed. Your code lives in containers, in virtual machines, scattered across availability zones from Tokyo to Frankfurt. The SSH command is your portal. Secure Shell is not just a way to log in. It is a cryptographic tunnel through the hostile territory of the public internet. It is how you project your consciousness across the globe. Mastering SSH means understanding keys, tunneling, and port forwarding. It means you can bypass corporate firewalls, securely transfer data, and manage infrastructure as if you were physically plugged into the rack. If you rely on passwords, you are vulnerable. If you rely on third-party remote desktop tools, you are slow. SSH is the teleporter of the digital age. Once you are inside the remote machine, you are often stripped of your luxuries. There is no VS Code here. There is no Sublime Text. If you need to edit a configuration file to save the database and you don't know Vim or Nano, you are helpless. You are a surgeon who has forgotten how to hold a scalpel. Vim is notorious for its learning curve, often cited as a joke, but it is the most efficient text editing interface ever designed. It operates at the speed of thought. Your hands never leave the home row. You navigate, edit, delete, and rearrange code with keystrokes that become muscle memory. While the amateur is reaching for the mouse to highlight a line, the Vim user has already deleted it, saved the file, and restarted the service. It is a barrier to entry that keeps the tourists out. But systems are possessive. They have hierarchies. Not everyone is allowed to touch everything. The permission system of Linux is the bedrock of security, and Command and Shun are the keys to the kingdom. A catastrophic amount of security breaches happen because a developer, lazy and frustrated, set the permissions to 777, allowing anyone to read, write, and execute a file. It is the digital equivalent of leaving your front door wide open with a welcome sign for burglars. Understanding the octal codes, understanding who owns the file and who belongs to the group, is what separates a secure system from a sieve. You must know how to restrict access, how to lock down your secrets, and how to grant power only to those processes that absolutely need it. We must also talk about the currency of the web. Data needs to move. APIs need to be tested. Curl is the language of the internet. It allows you to speak HTTP raw without the filter of a web browser. Browsers lie to you. They cache things, they render things, they hide headers. Curl gives you the raw truth. When you need to debug a REST API, when you need to download a script, when you need to spoof a user agent to see if a site is blocking bots, Curl is your Swiss Army knife. It is the tool that lets you interact with the world outside the box. And finally, we face the constraint of reality. Space. Storage is not infinite. When a server fills up, it stops. It doesn't warn you. It just dies. Database is corrupt. Logs trunk. The df and do commands are your radar for disk usage. df gives you the high-level view of the file system, telling you which mount points are nearing capacity. Do lets you drill down, finding that one directory where a forgotten backup file has grown to 200 gigabytes. Managing space is managing entropy. It is the unglamorous janitorial work that prevents the empire from collapsing under its own weight. These commands are not merely tools. They are the vocabulary of control. If you rely on a GUI, you are limited by what the designer of that interface thought you should be able to do. If you master the command line, you are limited only by your own imagination and understanding of the system. The GUI changes every year. The icons move, the colors shift, the trends fade. The terminal is eternal. The commands you learn today will likely still be running the world in 20 years. It is easy to be a passenger. It is comfortable. But if you want to drive, if you want to be the one who can fix things, when the lights go out, you need to embrace the black screen. You need to memorize these commands, not just in your head, but in your fingers. You need to feel the latency. You need to respect the power of root. Do not wait for a tutorial to hold your hand. Open the terminal, break something, fix it. That is the only way. The cursor is blinking. It's waiting for your input.